Well, Bruce Cain is professor of political science at Stanford University, and he joins us on the show. Good morning, Professor. The endorsements we know have been coming in thick and fast, with the biggest yet from Nancy Pelosi, but also from other, potential, if you like, challengers, Pritzker, Bashir, Shapiro, and also the pop star Charlie XCX. So, and we also know that no challenger has come out publicly at this point. So is this nomination Kamala Harris's to lose at this point?
I think that's fair to say. I think it's very possible that she's going to sail right through this, but it's a little early to say that it's hers. It's hers to lose in the sense that if some of the performances that she gives in press conferences or in Q&A with reporters prove to be problematic in some way, the party has the option, because we've got essentially 3 weeks until the convention, to sort of change its mind again and open it up. And there are some people in the Democratic Party that would like to see a more open process and consideration of other candidates. So a lot will depend upon how she does over the next couple weeks.
Professor, I just want to get your thoughts on the reports of Harris raising more than $80 million in the first 24 hours as a candidate. Just how much has Biden's withdrawal re-energize the party, and can the Dems significantly alter their course now?
I think it is a sign of enthusiasm, but to be fair, I think what was happening and caused Biden to step down in the first place was that donors and various activists and leaders were signaling to him that they really wanted him out. So some of this was withholding of money that would have been raised in the last couple of weeks, except that the donors really felt like he was not the person to carry the message forward. So I think people are happy that they've got a better person to present the Democratic message. But I think there's an awareness in the Democratic Party that right now Trump is still in the lead. He has still got an advantage, and that the Democratic Party has to work very hard to overcome that.
Prof. Cain, just want to go back to the point you made about the whole nomination process. Some pundits believe that Ms. Harris can actually benefit from an open nomination process because it brings legitimacy that a so-called coronation won't. Do you see it that way as well? And is there time, first of all, to have an open contest?
No, there isn't time to do a really open contest. And the reality is that because this happened, that Biden made the decision so late, as opposed to, say, when Johnson stepped down in 1968, it really precluded a lot of the governors and other people that were not national figures. It really precluded them from being able to even, make a claim to run, because it takes a lot of money and a lot of organization to do that. So the reality is that this pretty much, unless there's a mistake made by Harris, I think that the delegates are going to go along with it. She was part of the ticket that they all, pledged to support. And so his stepping down and her taking over has a lot of advantages in terms of making a smooth transition from having Biden as the president to having a new person, i.e. Harris, as the presidential candidate. So I think everybody sees that this is the easiest way to go. And I think more of the focus, if assuming Harris does a good job, will be on who the vice presidential selection will be.
We'll come to that later. But Professor, if Harris is to run for president, she'd be a barrier-breaking nominee, right? As the first woman, she'd be the first Black woman and the first person of South Asian descent ever to serve as president. Is the U.S. ready for a Black female president with a background of foreign descent?
Of course, we're going to find out. I think that they are. I mean, the reality is, by the way, with speaking about Asians, we now have the wife of a vice presidential candidate who is Asian and Kamala, who is half Asian as well. So I think the day to be Asian is come politically in America. But look, this is a concern that some people have had. A lot of women, in particular that I speak to, were very concerned about the way Hillary was treated by the press, and are very worried that America, even though it's come a long way and is more progressive than it used to be on issues of race and gender, may still not be over the barrier with respect to women at the highest level. And so while I'm optimistic about it, I will tell you that a lot of the women I talk to are still very guarded about this and still concerned whether these voters, remember that this race is going to come down to about 7 or 8 states that are swing states. Those states are a little more conservative than the country as a whole. And so it could be in a close race that it'll be a disadvantage. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully America has progressed, but it's hard to keep the image of what happened to Hillary out of people's minds. And so for sure, that's something that the party is thinking about. And I'm sure Kamala Harris is thinking about as she tries to forge an image of strength to counter the sort of image that Trump projects.
And Professor, do you see Donald Trump and the GOP sort of, utilizing, this fear, this concern among women that you've spoken to and you've alluded to, and recalibrating its campaign against the Democrats accordingly?
I think they have to be very careful about it, but yes, they will try to do that, and they will try to portray her in ways that are not directly anti-female, but are sort of indirectly suggest that she's too weak, that she doesn't have the decisiveness. I mean, Trump made a big deal about his strength and took advantage of the assassination with that photo opportunity, that to really persuade, I think, the Republican Party that he's almost messianic in his message. But I think the thing about Kamala that you have to watch is that she's a prosecutor. And so she is that symbol that you're a prosecutor, that you're on law enforcement in American culture, that signals a certain degree of strength that you don't normally find. It's not a stereotypically female position. And so it helps her counter the kind of stereotypes that people might bring. So yes, the Republicans will try to do that, but they got a real problem. She's younger, she's more vital, she's better at delivering the message, and she was a prosecutor. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup that maybe Trump hasn't been used to so far.
All right, Professor Cain, thank you very much for your time. We'll have to leave it there. Bruce Cain, professor of political science at Stanford University.